On the eve of my wedding to my fiancé Michael, the Smith family went bankrupt. He held an umbrella. Looking down at me as I sat drenched in the heavy rain, I reached out to grab his pant leg. But he dodged away in disgust. Emily, do you have any idea how utterly repulsive I find even the slightest touch from you? Only then did I realize he had been forced by his parents to flatter me because of the Smith family's influence. Later, I left, yet he searched for me frantically. When we met again, his eyes red. He tried to take my hand. I said calmly, "Don't touch me. It's disgusting." With a thud, the bag in my hand fell heavily to the ground, stared in disbelief at the photo on the TV cabinet in the living room, and the picture. A young man had his arm around a girl's shoulder. Both wearing identical blue and white school uniforms. Their smiles equally bright and radiant. The boy in the photo was Michael. And the girl leaning on his shoulder was my best friend Sophia. Why did you have to come here and stir up trouble? A mocking laugh came from behind me. It was Michael's mother. She glanced at the photo on the TV cabinet and said with a smile, "Don't Michael and Sophia look perfect together?" That Mrs. Johnson, who used to gently hold my hand, was now asking if Michael and Sophia were a good match. When I didn't respond, Mrs. Johnson added, "Now that the Smith family is bankrupt, Michael no longer has to pretend to be with you against his will." My mind exploded. What did she mean by not having to pretend? I had come to see Michael today because the company's cash flow had been problematic for a long time. But Dad hadn't told me to avoid worrying. I wanted Michael to help me since we were about to get married and would soon be family. At our engagement, he had said that from then on, he would handle everything. No matter what happened, I just needed to look at him, and he would solve it all. I had believed that completely. Michael and I met when we were 6. And it had been 18 years now. He had always been gentle and attentive to me. Remembering every little thing I mentioned, my greatest wish in life was to marry Michael and become his wife. Days. I left the Johnson family living room. The one who opened the door for me was the butler I had called uncle for over a decade. His gaze held a hint of sympathy and pity. I forced a pale smile. And no wonder Michael hadn't contacted me lately. I thought he was busy with work. But it was because the Smith family was going bankrupt, and he could finally shake me off. As I stepped out the main door, it was raining outside. I walked into the downpour, and the heavy rain quickly soaked my dress. I stopped, habitually looking up at the balcony of Michael's bedroom on the second floor. With just one glance, I froze completely. On the balcony, a tall man held a petite woman tightly in his arms, kissing her passionately amid thunder, lightning, and the pouring rain. The rain blurred my vision, and I couldn't tell if it was rain or tears, could only vaguely see how tightly he held her and how deeply he kissed her. He'd started dating officially when we were 18, and Michael said he disliked excessive physical contact with people. So during our relationship, the most intimate thing we did was him kissing my forehead. So he could kiss someone like that with such emotion. After all, he just hated me, didn't want any closeness with me. He must have found even kissing my forehead unbearable. On the second floor balcony, Michael released the girl whose cheeks were flushed from his kiss, his gaze falling on the person standing drenched and disheveled in the rain. "Michael, Emily is here." Sophia held Michael's arm, her innocent face tinged with a trace of worry. "She's getting soaked in the rain. Let's go give her an umbrella." My feet felt as if nailed to the ground. I wanted to leave, but I couldn't seem to move. I watched helplessly as the villa door opened again, and Michael, holding a large black umbrella, wrapped his arm around Sophia and walked slowly toward me. Even from a distance, I could clearly see the expression on Michael's face: cold, distant, heartless. In the past, he had always been gentle and polite around me. This was the first time I'd seen him like this. "Emily, hurry and take an umbrella," Sophia said with concern, handing me the umbrella in her hand. But I stared coldly at her hypocritical face. Her family favored sons over daughters, and she was timid since childhood. I had stood up for her countless times, treating her like a sister. Yet this was how she repaid me. I retorted, "Save your fake sympathy." Michael narrowed his eyes, Emily. Don't be ungrateful when someone's offering kindness. Sophia means well. I laughed as if hearing something absurd. Means well. Her kindness involves stealing someone's fiancé. Michael furrowed his brow. Even without Sophia, I wouldn't have liked you. My nose stung, though I had already learned the truth from Michael's mother. Hearing him say it himself felt like my heart was being torn open, leaving me gasping in pain. Why? Why are you doing this to me? I lunged forward and pushed Michael hard. They stumbled backward, and I fell straight to the ground. Sophia immediately cried out and reached to help me up, shoved her hand away forcefully, her eyes turned red, as if she had suffered immense injustice. In the past, seeing her like this always broke my heart. A bitter smile spread across my face. I must have been blind. Michael stood over me, holding the umbrella. Tears blurred my vision, and for a moment, I thought I saw a flicker of the old tenderness. I reached out to grab his pant leg, wanting to say I didn't want to marry him anymore. I could step aside. But could he please help my father? He recoiled in disgust. Emily, do you have any idea how utterly repulsive it is just to be touched by you? His icy, hate-filled gaze pierced me like a sword, twisting in my chest until I felt shattered. Since I was little, I've had no freedom to choose friends. If I upset you, my mother would beat me when I got home. You've looked down on others for so many years. Now it's your turn to experience what it's like at the bottom. Not long ago, my family was the wealthiest in the city. My mother died from amniotic fluid embolism when I was born. And my father, afraid I'd feel neglected, never remarried. He raised me as his precious jewel, known throughout the city as an obsessive father. To curry favor with him, many people would flatter me first. From birth, I had everything, and I never took that flattery seriously. But I never imagined that besides offering money and gifts, they'd even send people like a 6-year-old boy. My father, after decades in business, probably never expected it either. He truly believed Michael cared for me. Over the years, he supported the Johnson family and treated Michael like a son. All he wanted was for the Johnsons to treat me well after I married into their family. Who would have thought? They were all just a pack of ingrates, staggering out of the Johnson family estate. I walked through the torrential downpour under dim streetlights. Suddenly, a beam of light hit me. I moved forward slowly until a car stopped beside me. One glance told me it wasn't from the Johnson family. Even now, I still harbored illusions about Michael. Utterly hopeless. I turned to keep walking. The driver's door opened, and a man with a deep blue umbrella stepped out, circled the car, and stopped beside me. Only when he approached did I recognize him, a lifelong rival. David. I lowered my head and spoke weakly. I don't have time for your mockery today. David and I are from the same gated community, and we've been at each other's throats since childhood. Our fights were always loud and dramatic. And later, when hosting parties, people would deliberately keep us apart. After graduation, he went abroad, supposedly to help manage his family's branch in France. Seeing me down on my luck, he came all the way from France just to laugh at me. Truly a nemesis from childhood. David frowned. In your heart, am I really that kind of person? I hadn't seen him in 2 years, and now he looked quite dapper, more mature, less of his former arrogance and roguishness. I nodded. Yeah. David was amused to the point of anger. Get in the car. I looked at him warily. What did he want me to get in the car for? To shut the door and give me a good dose of passive-aggressive sarcasm. He seemed a bit helpless. If you don't get in, I won't lend your family the money. Hearing this, I quickly opened the car door and plopped into the passenger seat. I didn't know if David was lying to me, but right now, no one else was willing to lend us money to get through this tough time. David was the only one who had offered. I followed David to his riverfront penthouse. I'd been here several times before because it was the one I had my eye on first. But David pulled some strings and bought it before I could. Back then, I was a junior in college, and I was so furious that I rushed to David's classroom right after getting the news. He'd just finished class, and in front of everyone, I dragged him out and beat him up. I looked around and found that his decor was quite stylish. thought to myself that his taste was really good. The money. I started anxiously as soon as he closed the door. I can pay bank interest. David lazily walked over to the sofa and sat down. And I cautiously followed. If it weren't for needing the loan, I'd never put on such a face in front of David, but the company was more important. It was my father's hard work, and I couldn't let it collapse. David tapped his fingers rhythmically on his knee. I held my breath, quietly waiting for him to speak. I don't need that little interest, he said leisurely, looking at me. I couldn't quite read the emotion in his eyes. You don't want to lend it? Why did you call me to your place? Are you messing with me? I grabbed a cushion and slammed it hard onto him. Old habits die hard. Angry, I turned to leave. But as I took a step, my foot caught on something, and I spun around. Falling straight back, I crashed heavily onto the sofa, more accurately, onto David. What's in your pocket? Are you trying to do something to me? Did you hide some weapon? I waved my hands in the air a few times but couldn't get up for lack of leverage. Not only that, but I fell back several times. A voice, barely holding back a hoarseness, came from behind. Emily, if you move again, you're done. I immediately understood what it was, and my face flushed red to the ears. You're actually being a pervert. I gritted my teeth so hard they might crack. Then suddenly remembered David's earlier words. My expression froze, pressed against the sofa, turned around, and pinned David down. David seemed startled by my action. What are you doing? I gave him what I thought was a sweet smile, though I didn't know how creepy it looked to him. So, will you lend me the money now? I had David under my control in an instant, and the intensity startled me a bit. I kept a straight face, suppressing my nervousness, and deepened the smile at the corners of my mouth. David gritted his teeth. Emily, let go. David, you're magnanimous and hold no grudges. I won't go against you anymore. Please, lend me the money. I looked at him imploringly. The stock in my hand was surging alarmingly, but I still didn't let go. If he refused, I'd force myself on him, take photos, and threaten him. Emily, you think I can't handle you? Before I could grasp the meaning in his words, he had already pinned me down on the sofa. He leaned in, his eyes blazing with intense heat. I cursed under my breath. I never expected that David, that shameless jerk, would actually have such thoughts about me. And no wonder he offered to lend me money and then brought me back here. How do you plan to handle me? My hand slipped under his shirt and pressed against his washboard abs. David sucked in a sharp breath. Stop messing around, he said, gripping my hand. I felt a pang of frustration. If sleeping with him once could solve my funding issues, I wouldn't hesitate for a second. In the past, I cared deeply about my purity. I wanted to save myself completely for Michael, but now, nothing mattered more than getting the loan to help my dad through this crisis. I gritted my teeth, closed my eyes, and kissed David on the lips. Only, I pressed too hard, bumping against his mouth. Ouch, are you kissing me or seeking revenge? You nearly knocked my teeth out, he complained. How would I know? I'd never kissed anyone before. Ignoring him, I wrapped my arms around his neck, my nose stinging. David, please lend me the money. Why Dad has lost so much weight lately. I can lend you the money, but let go first, he replied. Hearing that, I immediately released him and raised my hands in surrender. David rubbed his bruised lip, adding, I can inject funds into your family's company. No repayment needed. On one condition, you marry me. My pupils constricted. Why? My family was facing bankruptcy. Why would he propose marriage? Did he like me? What a wild thought. David scratched his nose lazily. Women are such a hassle, he muttered. I stayed silent. I'll discuss the funding with your uncle. And you talked to him about the marriage? Well, get the household register from your place tomorrow. This fast, I stammered, then quickly sensed something off. Had I even agreed? Meanwhile, at the Johnson family home, Michael stood on the second-floor balcony, staring at the empty gate. It was over, He wouldn't have to pretend to seek out Emily anymore yet. The image of Emily before she left haunted him soaked through, revealing her curves. A sudden wave of heat surged through Michael. Had avoided touching her before out of dislike. But now it felt like a waste, still. With the Smith family bankrupt. If he really wanted her. Given how Emily loved him desperately. Keeping her as a mistress wouldn't be hard. A dark gleam flickered in Michael's eyes as he stubbed out his cigarette and went inside. I looked at the red booklet in my hand. Then glanced back at the marriage bureau. David's funds had hit our company account at dawn. And had dragged me out of bed early to get here, was acting like he was rushing to be reborn. I couldn't even linger in bed for a minute. Where to now? I asked David beside me, since had given the money. My expression was friendlier than usual. David's voice carried a lazy drawl. Don't smile like that. It creeps me out. I stayed quiet. Some people are just pains in the ass, they can't handle a little kindness. I kicked him in the leg. Get in the car already. David grinned cheekily. He hooked my shoulder. That's more like it. Mrs. Brown. What? What Mrs. Brown? I shook off the hand on my shoulder. But immediately David put it back. We're married. And you won't even let me touch your shoulder. I smiled insincerely. I gave you a chance yesterday. And you didn't cherish it. David immediately perked up. That wasn't proper yesterday. Come on. Let's go home now. My eyes widened. What was he saying? I was shoved into the car by David. And we drove back to the luxury apartment where we slept last night. Yesterday I slept in the master bedroom. And David slept somewhere else. I don't know where. As soon as the door closed, David picked me up in his arms and carried me straight to the master bedroom. His movements were so practiced. As if he had done it countless times. Remembered he had never been in a relationship. Could it be that he dated foreign girlfriends during these 2 years in France? He's good looking, has a great body, and comes from a good family. It would be abnormal not to date. Soon I found out David really hadn't been in a relationship. Looking at David's stunned expression. If it were before, I would have mocked him mercilessly. But now I just flushed red. He was finished before even getting home. I felt I was about to be finished too. Accident, David said through gritted teeth. Then lowered his head to kiss me again, seeing him so devastated. I couldn't help but smooth his hair. It's okay. It's okay. Everyone has their first time, David. Sounds like you have quite a bit of experience, for some reason. I thought I heard a hint of sourness. A sharp pain shot through my brain. And I bit David's shoulder hard. You. David seemed shocked. Not daring to move. He probably couldn't imagine that I had been with Michael for 6 years without even kissing, because Michael hated me. Thinking of Michael, my heart still ached a little. If you dare cheat on me in the future, I'll castrate you. I won't. I'll only have you for my whole life. David kissed me gently on the eyelid. Pious and tender. My heart trembled. This was totally unlike David's style. Soon I lost my train of thought as David physically showed me what an accident was and what normal performance was. Woke up again to the sound of ringing. Lifted my sore and weak hand, bringing the phone to my ear. Hello. My voice was hoarse and painfully dry. In my mind, I cursed David countless times. It's me. Michael's voice drove away all the sleepiness from my mind. Why was he calling now? Didn't he mock me enough yesterday? I cooled my voice. What is it? Michael's tone changed instantly. What's wrong with your voice? I chuckled. You and Sophia have been together behind my back for years. Haven't you? Haven't slept together. And you're asking me what's wrong? Michael's face turned dark and ugly. Emily, our engagement hasn't been called off. And you're already finding another man. Michael, are you crazy? Don't you know why our marriage is? It was just a scheme. And you still have the nerve to bring it up, Michael. Don't play innocent with me. Emily, I know your personality. Was he saying I'm conservative? Before I could answer, he added, I can help your uncle's company. But you have to listen to me obediently. Michael's voice carried a condescending charity. Just thought he was ridiculous. What does it mean to obediently listen to him? Suddenly, I realized the meaning in Michael's words. My face turned pale. Are you asking me to be your mistress? Who would let my wife be a mistress? The phone was snatched from my hand, and I looked up to see David's face covered in frost. It was the first time I had seen David like this. It was quite scary when he heard a man's voice on the phone. Michael's temple veins bulged. David. Are you fucking messing with my woman? David's lips curled up, but his eyes were icy cold. I have a marriage certificate with my wife. It's legal. Stop daydreaming. What does my wife have to do with you? After saying that, the phone beeped, and Michael's face turned as black as ink. He smashed the phone in his hand, and it shattered into pieces. Michael. What's wrong? Sophia walked in, the shattered phone at her feet. The man sitting on the sofa radiating low pressure. Michael calmed his expression. Why did you come? Sophia sat down on the sofa. Your mother asked me to come see the wedding dress. You should come down and take a look too. Michael was dazed for a moment. He called out of the blue. I am innocent too. I stammered. David's expression was still bad. I kicked David with my foot. Why are you frowning? He's quite annoying. David grabbed my foot and pressed down. Now you know you were blind before. I remembered in high school. I once told Sophia that I didn't like guys with yellow skin and muscles. I preferred someone fair and slim like Michael. It just so happened that David overheard it, sarcastically said that Michael was a white chicken, good-looking but useless. And I also mocked him back. In the end, I couldn't win the argument. So I started a fight and beat him up, almost scratched his face. David had been a mischievous kid since childhood. Loved playing basketball. His skin was wheat-colored. In high school, I accidentally saw him changing clothes and caught sight of those tempting 8-pack abs. Actually, I quite liked it. I just wanted to provoke David, because he always had a sharp tongue, especially since he was very quick-witted. I never won an argument, and he never won a fight. David leaned in to kiss me. He'd never been in a relationship. His kissing skills were really poor. We were just two amateurs clumsily pecking at each other. After a while, he let go of me. We're going to Greece tomorrow, huh? David tapped my forehead. After getting married, shouldn't we go on a honeymoon? I was slightly stunned. Had also told Michael before that I wanted to go to Greece for our honeymoon, but he just perfunctorily said "ahoo" twice. Without even looking away from the computer, I asked, how did you know I wanted to go to Greece? David glanced at me. You said before that when you marry me, we'll go to Greece for our honeymoon. His tone was a bit resentful. I looked at him, and after a while, I remembered that was said when I was 4 years old, before I turned 5. I actually loved following David around and playing, but he didn't like me when he turned 5. The adults from both families jokingly said they would arrange an engagement for us. David pushed me, said he hated me, and didn't want to marry me. I was so heartbroken. I cried hard after going home, and never went to see David again. And even the relationship between our two families faded. Didn't you hate me? How do you even remember that? David pinched my cheek. You really hold a grudge. I accidentally pushed you once, and you refused to talk to me ever since. I was puzzled. Accidentally. David opened his mouth but then closed it. I caught a glimpse of his reddened ear tips in my peripheral vision. I apologized to you, when? I wondered, suddenly realizing something, and I exclaimed in surprise. That 2-meter bear. I thought Sophia had sent it. Back then, Sophia and the bear were standing at the door together, and I was curious how Sophia had carried it over. David said with frustration. I told you Sophia is no good, but you wouldn't believe me. I met Sophia in kindergarten, and David never liked her, always saying bad things about her in front of me. Always felt David was just making trouble. Now it seems I was too foolish. It's not too late to believe now. I chuckled. Fortunately, David is not a grudge holder. After all these years of me hitting him, he was still willing to help our family through hard times. The next day, I boarded a flight to Greece. I originally wanted to stay in the country to help Dad, but he said he could handle everything and told me to go relax properly before boarding. I saw widespread news about the Johnson family and the Williams family forming a marriage alliance online. Their love was being heavily promoted. As the ex-fiancé, I had completely faded from public view. This was exactly what I wanted, just hoped to have nothing more to do with those two. Arriving in Athens that afternoon, David and I had a meal and lay on lounge chairs on the terrace to watch a sunset over the Aegean Sea. Prefer sunsets over sunrises. When the golden light spills onto the azure sea, it's breathtakingly beautiful. A few days later, we went diving in the blue caves of Zakynthos Island. Actually, I've always loved diving, but Michael had nearly drowned before and was afraid of water, so I rarely went. When we entered the water, David held my hand, and as we submerged into the deep blue sea, I felt like I was in another world. The gloom in my heart vanished in an instant. My future is still long. Michael and Sophia are just passers-by. There's no need for me to dwell on them. They were the ones who did wrong, not me. About 2 weeks into my stay in Greece, Dad called with good news. The company situation had stabilized temporarily, at least avoiding bankruptcy. As for whether we could return to being the wealthiest family in Yuncheng, that depended on my dad. At the same time, news of my marriage alliance with David was released. Honey, how will you thank me? David nuzzled his fuzzy head against my shoulder. In these past 2 weeks in Greece, David had changed completely, sticking to me from morning till night. Hitting or scolding him didn't change a thing. Get lost. I want to sleep. I pushed him away and flopped onto the bed. In these 2 weeks in Greece, half the day was spent exercising outdoors, and the nights on bed exercised. I was exhausted, almost worn out. Sleep together, honey. David climbed into bed and slipped under the covers. Michael tightened his grip on his glass unconsciously. Emily sure moves fast. Wasn't she always at odds with David? How are they getting married? Lychee swirled his glass, glancing at Michael. David must have had a crush on Emily for a long time. Every time they met, it was like a battlefield. How is that possible? Lychee added. You guys didn't know, but back in 10th grade, 2 boys were talking behind Emily's back about her figure, and he beat them black and blue. What does it matter if he likes Emily? Emily likes our Michael. Michael, is Emily marrying David out of spite because you're getting married and she's throwing a tantrum? Michael slammed his glass down hard. Emily wouldn't like him. Lychee, seeing his mood darken, quickly smoothed things over. Emily likes you so much. We all know that. Michael, do you actually like Sophia or Emily? In families like ours, marriage is for life. You need to think this through. A friend chimed in. Everyone present knew Michael and Sophia had been together behind Emily's back. They thought Michael and Sophia would make it official, but lately, Michael's mood had been terrifyingly low, especially today with the news of Emily and David's marriage alliance. When Michael entered the private room, he was radiating dark energy, looking like he wanted to kill someone. Michael picked up his glass, downed the wine in one gulp, his eyes icy cold. She wouldn't dare marry anyone else, seeing that the situation was not good. My friend quickly changed the subject. The phone. Should I answer it? I lifted half my face from the pillow. No. Don't answer it. I was exhausted. It's Michael. I then noticed that David's carefree expression had turned sour. To this day, I still don't understand why David hates him so much. Honey, he's like a leech. So annoying. I couldn't help but laugh. Answer it. David pressed answer and put the phone to my ear. Emily, my stomach hurts. Michael's drunken voice came through the receiver. I glanced at David's slightly gloomy face. He was frowning so deeply it could kill a mosquito. I said calmly, if your stomach hurts, see a doctor. Now, half a month had passed, and hearing Michael's voice again, I had become very calm. Emily, come pick me up. Okay, I miss you. I was confused. Are you out of your mind? Emily. The Emily you hate. If you want to go crazy, go find Sophia. My husband and I are busy. I don't have time to deal with you. After saying that, I hung up the phone. On the other end, Michael stared at the disconnected phone, blankly looking at the blackened screen. A belated sense of panic rose in his heart. Had she really gotten married? Michael! Why are you sitting on the ground? Get up quickly. Sophia got out of the car and hurriedly tried to help Michael up. Let go. Michael shook off Sophia's hand, and the latter looked utterly incredulous. Michael. Sophia said with red eyes. Emily is getting married. Aren't you happy? Michael remained silent. You go back. Happy now. I put the phone aside and looked at David, whose mood had brightened. The only good thing about him is that he can't hide his feelings. Honey. What did you just call me? I frowned, pretending not to know. What did I call you? Say it again. I don't remember. David. In the end, David used unconventional means to force me to call him husband many times. After staying in Greece for a month, we flew to France. David took me to see all the places he had lived in over the past 2 years. On the first day in France, I received a message from a fair-weather friend. It said that the alliance marriage between the Johnson family and another family had been cancelled. I was surprised. Weren't they madly in love? How could it be cancelled so suddenly? I didn't have the mood to deal with their affairs and went out to play with David again. After staying in France for nearly a month, we returned to China to prepare for the wedding. What I didn't expect was to see Michael in France on the eve of our return. He looked travel-worn. Without the refined appearance of a noble young man, the fiery sunset bathed the bustling pedestrians, and I locked eyes with him across the crowd. He strode towards me, and just as he was about to touch my arm, I sidestepped to avoid it. Don't touch me. It's disgusting. Michael's joyful expression froze upon hearing my words and seeing my cold expression. Emily, I've been looking for you for so long. I found it amusing. Why are you looking for me? To attend your wedding with Sophia. Michael shook his head frantically. I miss you, Emily. I was wrong. I shouldn't have said those things that day. I've called off the engagement with her. Can we live together happily from now on? His gaze was sincere, filled with the tender affection I had longed for but never received before. It was too late. Belated affection is as worthless as grass. Am already married. I stretched out my hand, revealing the large pink diamond ring on my finger. David had bought it at an auction and proposed to me under the Eiffel Tower in front of everyone. Said that even though we were legally married, the proper ceremony couldn't be skipped when I was with Michael. He seemed gentle, but looking back now, his kindness was only superficial, especially after comparing it to these 2 months of traveling with David. I realized how foolish I had been before. I know David must have deceived you. Just get a divorce in. Before he could finish, he was punched down by David, who had gone to buy water for me. Michael wiped the blood from his mouth. David, you're taking advantage of someone's misfortune. You scoundrel. David snorted. Michael, you're shameless. You were with Sophia, enjoying the benefits from the Smith family, reaping the rewards while acting innocent, and messing around on the side. Seeing David's deep resentment toward Michael, I didn't stop him from hitting him. As they scuffled, I took advantage of the chaos to kick Michael. After all, he had humiliated me so badly. He actually called me disgusting. The richest heiress in Yuncheng. Beautiful and wealthy. Who could have any man I wanted? It wasn't like I forced him to play along with me. So why did he blame it all on me? Enough. Husband. Stop hitting him. It won't be good if you hurt him badly. Seeing Michael breathing shallowly and gasping for air, I quickly pulled David back. His muscles hadn't grown in vain. David squatted down and pointed at Michael's nose. Today, for my wife's sake, I'll let you off, but if you ever harass my wife again, I'll beat you to death. David had wanted to hit Michael for a long time. Michael had gained Sophia's affection but didn't cherish it, which infuriated David. The problem was that Emily never believed him before. As a child, because he said one thing but meant another, he pushed Emily away. And in his dreams, he regretted it so much he cried under the covers. Thankfully, she was back with him now. Emily, don't call him that, Michael pleaded. looking at me with imploring eyes. I ignored him. David had hit him. So I still had to call a taxi to send him to the hospital. David held me, looking down from a height at Michael curled up on the ground. Just like that day at the Johnson family home, on my first day back in the country. Sophia showed up at my door. I didn't want to see her, but I was genuinely curious about why she had treated me that way. I'd known her longer than Michael. I told the servant to just pour her a glass of water. She wasn't my friend anymore. So naturally, she got no preferential treatment in my home. She put on that pitiful look again. Emily, I'm sorry. I really didn't want to hurt you. I was immune to that act. Now, you say you didn't want to hurt me. But what about your actions? The photo I saw at the Johnson family home looked like it was taken in our sophomore year of high school. They had been together all along. But Michael still pretended to be deeply in love with me. And I had shared all my girlish thoughts with Sophia. They probably laughed at me behind my back. Sophia bit her lip. Emily, I don't have your family background or a father who dotes on me. And I don't even have a childhood friend who protects me. Michael likes me. And I like him too. We're truly in love. I didn't protect you. Sophia's words made me laugh angrily. What do you think my domineering reputation in the capital came from? Wasn't it because I always stood up for you? I never understood the saying that pitiable people must have hateful aspects. Now I get it. It's talking about people like you. Someone helps you, but you have no gratitude. And you even start comparing yourself to them. I vented all my anger at once. And Sophia's tears dripped down. I watched her cry coldly. After a while, seeing I wasn't reacting, she stopped sobbing. Emily, can you help me persuade Michael not to break off our engagement? Now my mom wants me to marry a divorced man in his 30s. I raised my eyebrows. Aren't you in love? What do you want me to persuade? I had no patience to listen to Sophia anymore. I found she had her own twisted logic. As if she were the weakest and most reasonable person in the world, asked the butler to send her away. Then continued reviewing the invitation designs. When the wedding preparations were nearly complete, I received a call from Michael's mother, asking me to visit Michael at the hospital because he was sick. I told her to find a doctor and hung up. Hadn't forgotten her sarcastic remarks from before. Why should I visit Michael when he was ill? But the next day, Michael's mother showed up at my door. Refused for a week, but she came every day, annoyed. I finally went to the hospital. Seeing Michael in the hospital room startled me. He had lost a significant amount of weight, the hospital gown hanging loosely on him. His eyes sunken and dark. Gone was the gentle, polite, noble young man he once was. I came to deliver your invitation today, I said, placing an exquisite invitation on the nightstand. He reached out and grabbed me, his eyes red as he looked at me. Emily, is there really no chance left? I yanked my hand back forcefully. When you called me disgusting, did you ever think there might be a chance in the future? He fell silent, a flash of regret in his eyes. So he knew how hurtful those words were. When you humiliated me and asked me to be your mistress, did you ever think there might be a chance in the future? With each word I spoke, his face grew paler. Michael, playing the victim won't work on me. Even if you really died in front of me, I wouldn't bat an eyed. I'd only think, another disgusting person has left. The light in Michael's eyes completely vanished. And not some compassionate, kind-hearted saint for people I care about. I'd risk my life, but for those I don't, I wouldn't spare a glance. Carrying my bag, I walked out of the hospital and looked up at the clear blue sky. The weather was bright and cloudless. A truly good day, honey. A man in a suit leaned against a car not far away, waving at me. I smiled and walked toward him. A Michael's extra. The first time I saw Emily, I thought she was as beautiful as a porcelain doll. Back then, an annoying kid was always by her side. He constantly made Emily furious, but her gaze was fixed entirely on him. Besides him, Emily only played with one girl. At first, I really wanted to be friends with her too. The first time I held her hand while playing together, I was genuinely happy. I thought to myself, how could there be a girl as adorable as Emily in the world? When I grew up, I had to marry her later. My parents realized that my close relationship with Emily could bring benefits from the Smith family. So they began, subtly or not, pressuring me to please her. I hated it but couldn't resist. Gradually, I stopped wanting to visit her home or see her at all. It felt like we had become different people. She was the master. I was the servant. As she grew older, she became even more beautiful. With a lively personality, many people adored her. And everyone loved spending time with her, especially that annoying David, who hovered around Emily like a persistent ghost. In my sophomore year, I started dating Sophia. I didn't truly like her, but we were so similar it bred a sense of mutual understanding. At 18, under my mother's pressure, I confessed to Emily, and she joyfully agreed. In that moment, I felt a pang of regret. I wanted to be with Emily properly and was preparing to break up with Sophia. But Sophia cried pitifully, and I comforted her for a long time. She suddenly took off her clothes in front of me. At 18, with endless passion, the scales in my heart slowly tipped toward Sophia, yet I also enjoyed the affection Emily had for me. Emily was sunny and cheerful, like a little sun full of energy. Looking at her, my mood seemed to brighten. For 6 years, I felt guilty while enjoying Emily's kindness toward me, refused to admit I liked her. I could only brainwash myself into liking Sophia, telling myself I hated Emily, that being with Sophia was true love, and that I hadn't betrayed Emily. At 24, when Emily's family faced bankruptcy, I knew my chance to get rid of Emily had come, but after she left, my world felt empty, impossible to fill. I got the idea to bring Emily back, thinking that if I hadn't touched her during our relationship, touching her might dull those intense feelings. I didn't expect Emily to be married, and to David at that. When I learned David was the one she married, I knew there was no chance. David had always kept a covetous eye on Emily for years, popping up at the slightest sign of trouble, but I didn't want to admit it. I quickly called off the engagement with Sophia. I never really planned to marry her anyway, since Emily refused to come back. I wanted to force her to yield this way, but she didn't. I searched desperately for her and finally found her in Paris. When she called David husband, all my hopes were shattered. If she didn't like him, she couldn't have used that term. After returning home, I deliberately drank heavily, gambling on her soft-heartedness. She was easy to coax and most tender-hearted. But I didn't know her softness was only for those she cared about. Emily has been married for 10 years now, and she and David are famous in Yunqing as a loving couple. They have an adorable daughter, whom I once saw from afar. Often think that if I hadn't let my so-called pride stop me from admitting my feelings for Emily early on, I would be the one married to her now. Not long ago, Sophia came to see me. Her parents had married her off to a man 10 years older who was divorced twice, and her life was miserable. She wanted me to help her escape her misery. Deep down, I resented her. I refused. Of course, looking at the diagnosis slip in my hand confirming advanced stage stomach cancer, I let out a bitter laugh.